HFY story, life-size replica, RE086, Deathworld, War, and Humanity. The Galactic Union's Hall of Records was a place of immense quiet. Rows upon rows of holographic archives floated in ordered streams, each file containing detailed reports on the countless worlds and species catalogued by the Union. Most visitors were diplomats, scientists, or historians, seeking to study the lessons of alien cultures. Today, however, something unusual was happening in the hall. At the center of the chamber, surrounded by holographic projections of vibrant alien worlds, stood an enormous, life-size replica of a battle-scarred human mech. The towering machine gleamed under the dim light, its surface marred with plasma burns and scratches from unknown claws. Beside it, a single plaque read, "Replica of RE086, Human Construct, Battle of Kedra 4." The holographic curator, a soft-spoken alien with pale, translucent skin, addressed the small crowd of diplomats gathered around the display. "This," it said, gesturing to the towering machine, "is a reproduction of the RE086, a mechanized combat suit designed by humans during the Kedra conflict, a war that demonstrated the extraordinary adaptability and resilience of their species." One of the diplomats, a Valdari with shimmering, insect-like wings, tilted their head skeptically. "It is crude, surely. This machine is no match for the advanced weaponry of the Galactic Union." The curator's gaze turned toward the mech, its translucent skin glowing faintly. "Crude, perhaps, but it is a testament to humanity's ingenuity, and their terrifying determination." Kedra 4, a death world of hostility and chaos. Kedra 4 was a planet no sane species would have colonized. Its atmosphere was barely breathable, its gravity higher than most species could tolerate, and its surface was a mix of jagged mountains, boiling lakes, and forests filled with aggressive, venomous creatures. Yet, it was rich in valuable minerals, and as such, it became a flashpoint for war between two of the Union's most powerful factions, the Zerian Syndicate and the Nathari Combine. When the fighting escalated, both sides turned to hired forces. For the Zerians, this meant highly trained mercenaries. For the Nathari, it meant an unexpected wildcard, the humans. Humanity was still relatively new to the Galactic Union. Their reputation as Deathworlders had intrigued and unnerved many species. Despite being physically fragile compared to most galactic species, humans were famous for their relentless drive and resourcefulness. But no one expected what they brought to Kedra 4. The arrival of RE086. The human forces arrived with minimal fanfare. At first, the Zerian Syndicate dismissed them as a minor threat. Human infantry, while resourceful, could not stand up to their highly trained mercenaries. But everything changed when the humans deployed their RE086 mechs. Unlike the sleek, high-tech combat drones used by most Union species, the RE086 was a brutal, practical machine, standing nearly 20 feet tall. It was built from durable alloys scavenged from human mining equipment and powered by a rugged fusion reactor that could run for months. Its armaments were similarly unconventional, a railgun capable of punching through fortified bunkers, a flamethrower for close-range combat, and a shoulder-mounted missile launcher for dealing with airborne threats. But its most terrifying feature was its adaptability. Each mech was piloted by a single human, who could modify its loadout mid-battle, jury-rig repairs with whatever materials were on hand, and even program the mech systems to function autonomously in emergencies. For the Zerians, the mechs were an unexpected nightmare. The Battle of Kedra 4. The turning point came during the siege of Ridgepoint Valley. The Zerians, bolstered by their advanced hover tanks and orbital bombardment systems, had pinned down the Nathari forces in the valley for weeks. Supplies were running low, and surrender seemed inevitable. Then, the humans struck. A squad of 6 RE086 mechs emerged from the forest under cover of night, their pilots navigating the rough terrain with terrifying precision. Using Kedra 4's hostile environment to their advantage, the humans attacked from the boiling lakes and jagged cliffs, ambushing Zerian tanks and disabling their artillery positions. The Zerians, confident in their superior technology, were utterly unprepared for the humans' tactics. The mechs didn't just fight, they adapted. When their railguns overheated, the pilots repurposed power cells from destroyed tanks to keep them running. When a flamethrower fuel line ruptured, the pilot turned it into a makeshift explosive. Within hours, The Zerian forces were in full retreat, Ridgepoint Valley was liberated, and the Nathari forces were saved. Aftermath and legacy. The RE086 mechs became legendary after the Battle of Kedra 4. For the Galactic Union, they were a stark reminder of humanity's dangerous potential. Other species marveled at how the humans had turned Deathworld engineering, rugged, improvised, and often messy, into a lethal art form. The Zerians, humiliated by their defeat, filed an official protest with the Union Council, claiming the humans had violated ethical combat protocols. The council dismissed the complaint, noting that the Zerians had unleashed their own atrocities during the war. As for the humans, they quietly dismantled their RE086 units after the war, repurposing their materials for civilian use, but the replica in the Hall of Records remained, a monument to their ingenuity and resilience. Epilogue. A young diplomat, her first time in the Hall of Records, stared up at the towering replica of the RE086. "It's so rough," she said aloud, speaking more to herself than anyone else. The curator, who had been watching her with faint amusement, replied, "Perhaps, but it worked. That is what makes humanity remarkable, they make the impossible work." The diplomat nodded slowly, her gaze lingering on the mech. In its burn marks and battle scars, she saw not just the story of a machine, but the story of a species. A species that didn't stop. A species that found a way. End. HFY story, life-size replica, RE086, Deathworld, War, and Humanity Part 2. The life-size replica of RE086 was more than just a display, it was a puzzle. Every scorch mark, every jagged edge, told a story, but for the Galactic Union's diplomats and historians, the real mystery wasn't the mech's construction or its battle record. It was the pilots. The mind behind the machine. Humans had a curious relationship with technology. Where many species in the Galactic Union preferred fully autonomous systems, humans insisted on a human touch. For the RE086, this meant its pilots weren't just operators, they were engineers, warriors, and problem solvers rolled into one. The Galactic Union's best analysts had pored over records of the Battle of Kedra 4, trying to understand how the humans had achieved such improbable victories. They noted moments that defied logic. A pilot who, upon losing their railgun, used the mech's arm to hurl a disabled Zerian tank like a projectile. Another who, under fire, hotwired a fallen enemy drone to create a temporary shield generator. And then there was Commander Relis Kane, the leader of the RE086 squad, who had reprogrammed his mech mid-battle to act as a decoy, sacrificing it to draw enemy fire away from a civilian evacuation. Each story reinforced a truth the Union struggled to comprehend: humans didn't just fight wars, they lived them. A curious visit. On the second day of the exhibit's opening, the Hall of Records received an unusual visitor. She was tall and broad-shouldered, with graying hair tied back in a no-nonsense braid. Her clothing was simple, bearing no insignia, but the way she carried herself suggested military discipline. The curator noticed her immediately as she approached the RE086 replica. Her steps were slow, deliberate, and her eyes scanned every detail of the mech as though committing it to memory. "Do you have a question?" the curator asked, floating closer. The woman smiled faintly. "No, just remembering." The curator's translucent skin glowed faintly in curiosity. "Asked a student of history?" The woman chuckled. "Something like that." She reached out, her fingers brushing the cold metal of the replica's leg. "You got the details right, even the patchwork repairs on the knee joint." The curator tilted its head, now glowing with suspicion. "You speak as if you've seen the original." "I did," the woman replied, her voice quiet, from the inside. The curator froze. "You are a pilot of RE086?" She nodded, her smile tinged with sadness. "Ellis Kane, commander of the 12th Mechanized Infantry, retired." A conversation with a legend. The curator immediately shut down the exhibit, ushering Kane into a private chamber. For hours, the alien bombarded her with questions, recording every detail of her experience. "What made the RE086 so effective?" the curator asked. Kane leaned back in her chair, her gaze distant. "It wasn't just the machine, it was the mindset. The mech was an extension of us, our hands, our instincts, our will to survive. On Kedra 4, we didn't have the luxury of perfect tech or flawless plans. We had what we had, and we made it work. But you were outnumbered, outgunned. Statistically, you should have failed. Kane smirked. Statistically, humans shouldn't exist. Earth's a death world, remember? Everything that lives there has to fight to survive. That's in our blood. The curator's glow dimmed as it processed her words. And yet, you dismantled the RE086 units after the war. Why? Kane's smile faded. Because they were too effective. The galaxy isn't ready for what humanity can do when we're pushed to the edge. And, honestly, neither are we. The warning. As their conversation drew to a close, the curator asked one final question. Do you believe humanity's role in the Union will remain peaceful? Kane's expression hardened. She rose to her feet, staring up at the holographic display of the galaxy that adorned the chamber's ceiling. Peace isn't something you inherit, she said, it's something you fight for. As long as humanity is part of the Union, we'll fight to protect it. But make no mistake, if anyone threatens our home, our people. She glanced back at the curator, her eyes steely. We'll bring more than just mechs, and we won't be making replicas. Legacy and Steel. Ellis Kane left the Hall of Records without ceremony, fading into the crowds of diplomats and scholars. The curator, shaken by the encounter, returned to the exhibit and stared at the RE086 replica. For the first time, it felt small. The mech was a symbol, yes, but also a warning. Humanity's adaptability, ingenuity, and raw determination were unlike anything the galaxy had seen before, and while the RE086 had saved countless lives on Kedra 4, it was a reminder of what could happen if humanity ever unleashed its full potential. The plaque at the base of the replica was updated the next day, reflecting Kane's words. A symbol of survival, a testament to humanity's will, and a warning to those who would test it. End of Part 2. HFY Story, Life-Size Replica, RE086, Deathworld, War, and Humanity Part 3. The word about humanity's war machine spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The galactic community, once comfortably complacent in their technological superiority, began to take notice. It wasn't just the RE086 mechs or their battlefield feats, they were only the beginning. The human spirit had an uncanny way of warping the impossible into a victory, and now, humanity was watching the galaxy closely. But not everyone was thrilled. The Galactic Council and the Human Dilemma. In the heart of the Galactic Union, the Council was in turmoil. The more they learned about humanity's capacity for adaptation, the more they realized how deeply they underestimated the species. What happens when we face another Kedra? Asked Textal, the representative from the Pella Dominion, an insectoid species renowned for their military prowess. Humans have shown that they can, and will, fight with anything they have. No rules, no mercy. The RE086 is only the tip of the iceberg. Admiral Urus, a veteran diplomat from the Nathari Combine, nodded gravely. They've created an entire doctrine of warfare based on adaptability. They fight smarter, not harder, and when they face extinction, they find ways to survive. I've seen it firsthand. The council members fell into uneasy silence, the weight of the discussion settling over the chamber. Finally, it was the arbiter of the council, a calm and calculated species called the Rower, who spoke. We must invite them to a summit. If we do not understand them, we risk making enemies of humanity. The invitation. Months passed. The summit was scheduled on the neutral planet of Zephyros 4, a world known for its sprawling forests and massive lakes. There, a council of the galaxy's most influential species would meet to discuss the future of the Galactic Union, and humanity's place in it. Ellis Kane was the chosen representative. As commander of the RE086 squad, she had become something of a symbol for her people. The diplomats who had once doubted humanity's abilities now considered her one of the most dangerous minds in the galaxy. At the summit, Kane was greeted by leaders from dozens of species, each sizing her up as she entered the Grand Hall. Despite her stoic demeanor, she felt the weight of their gaze, like they were trying to decide if humanity was a ticking bomb or a valuable ally. The arbiter of the council, a tall, alien figure with glowing blue eyes, welcomed her. Commander Kane, thank you for attending. Kane offered a nod. I'm here to listen, but also to be clear, humanity doesn't come to these talks weak. We're here to negotiate terms, our terms. The room went silent. Kane had always been blunt, and even the most hardened diplomats were taken aback by her straightforwardness. I'm sure you've all seen the footage of Kedra 4, and I'm sure you've all thought about how we won that war, but what you haven't considered is this: we don't fight for domination, we fight for survival, and if anyone here is unwilling to treat humanity as an equal, then maybe we shouldn't be part of this union at all. The Arbiter's eyes flashed. Are you threatening us? Kane didn't flinch. I'm stating the truth. We don't do threats, we do what it takes. So if the Union is here to protect peace, then we're willing to work with you, but if you're just looking to use us for your advantage, I'll walk away right now. The Alliance's test. Over the course of the summit, the discussions grew heated. Some species, like the Veltari and the Nethari, began to see humanity as a force to be reckoned with, an ally, yes, but also a potential rival if left unchecked. Others, like the Hori and the Zirians, expressed their doubts about humanity's fit within the Union. They viewed humanity's unpredictability and willingness to use unconventional methods in war as a destabilizing factor. And yet, when the Arbiter finally spoke to the room, it was clear that humanity had made an impression. Humanity is a unique case. We have seen their ability to turn the tide of impossible battles, to thrive in the most hostile of environments, and to always find a way when no way seems possible. Perhaps their future in the Union will not be as a passive member, but as a guardian of sorts, one that will keep the Union's ideals from becoming complacent, from losing the very essence of what it means to survive. There was an uncomfortable pause, before the Arbiter continued. Humanity's membership is accepted, but they will remain under review. It is up to them to prove they can balance their independence with the needs of the Union. Humanity's future. As Ellis Kane left the summit, she felt the weight of her victory, but she also understood the gravity of the situation. Humanity had earned its place in the Union, but the road ahead was filled with challenges. Many species would still question their methods, their motives, and their future intentions. But Kane didn't have time to worry about politics. She had been given a job, an even more important role than commanding a squad of mechs, and that was to ensure humanity's survival in this new galaxy. Back on Earth, news of the summit spread quickly. Humanity had officially joined the Galactic Union, but they weren't the timid newcomers they had once been. They were now respected, feared, and, perhaps most importantly, needed. And as for the RE086 mechs, they would never truly be dismantled. They were a symbol, a legacy of the human spirit. Whenever the galaxy needed them, whenever there was a war, a challenge, or a need to survive, they would be ready. Humanity wasn't just a member of the Union now, they were its backbone, and no one would ever forget it. End of Part 3.